Hey, so in this video I'm gonna talk about a very important and tough subject, which is the deception of school. So it's a bold statement saying that school is deceiving you. What does deceiving mean? It means that basically they pretend to do one thing while in reality, in practicality, they do another thing. They produce another result than the one they pretend to achieve. So you judge a tree by its fruits. And I can tell you one thing with school, public school and even private schools, in a lot of countries, the results are not good. The fruits are not good. So what should the school do? What results should you expect from a school? When you send your kid to school, what do you expect? Like, reasonably, you should expect that the school is gonna give every chance to every kid to get better. And in the best scenario, you should expect that every kid actually improve. Like every kid actually learn how to read. Every kid actually learn how to use mathematics and a lot of other things, like socialize and lots of other things. But like you could say to me, like, it seems to work. Like, kids are going there, they are learning how to read, they are learning how to use basic math, so everything's fine. But actually, if you look in detail what's really happening, it's not the case. Like, kids are not even by far reaching the levels that they should actually exceed. Like that, reading levels are going down. Everything is going down compared to what it was like 50 years ago. So there is a problem. But even if you took what was happening 50 years ago, when it actually seemed to produce a good result, it wasn't that great because it was like merely just a selecting process where you actually have kids that are already smart because their parents already had quite a good vocabulary and they were cultivated, so they had a lot of personal knowledge and they were able to transmit it to their kids. So you had those kids that were privileged and other kids that were less privileged, and you will expect that school will reach everybody to the highest standard possible, so that this gap between the two type of young person actually reduce. But what you observe is the complete opposite. The gap between the quote smart kids that come from quote smart families, the gap is actually increasing between them and the kids that come from quote less smart families. So the school is obviously not doing what it's supposed to do. Plus, there is another thing, is that the kids that are coming from very rich families, they don't go to the same schools as other kids. So it's another factor that comes in. But even within like the same school, you have some kids that are doing better and some kids that are doing a lot less good. Like, my first language is not English, so excuse me, sometimes I just have trouble finding some words. So you can actually see that the result that it achieved is actually not good. Like, it's just merely acting as a selecting process. That's why usually most doctors come from families where they had a lot of doctors, same for lawyers, etc., etc. So school is not achieving a result that you could expect, that where kids are actually raised up and everybody is raised up at their utmost potential. So you're gonna say, like, is it even possible? Because it's not that easy, you're gonna say it's not that easy, so is it even possible to do it? And the answer is absolutely yes. There is a lot of people that are achieving great results. If you look at the early 20th century, there was a method called the Montessori method, and it achieved really good results for kids. And right now there are also a lot of other very good methods that are actually able to raise kids. Like you could take a kid from 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 year olds, 5 year olds, even later, and you will get basically a kid that is very smart and very stable. You just have to do the right things. And schools are not, definitely not doing the right things. Absolutely not. They're just not. So they're not doing what they're supposed to do. But worse, they are actually sabotaging kids. Like, for example, if you're gonna go into school as a kid, what are they going to ask you to do? Basically to sit down, listen to somebody talking, and now it's even worse with the mask for kids, but in normal times, in non-COVID times, it was like you just sit and you listen to somebody talking, and you do some types of exercises, and then you have a break and you go on like this. So it seems normal to everybody, but if you really be honest and stabilize yourself and look at it, like, try to be rational about that. Is it normal for a kid to sit down in group, like 15, 20, 25, 30 people, and just sit there for 2 hours and listening to somebody? You think it's normal for somebody like 7, 8, 10 years old? No, it's not. Because the thing is, they actually don't understand why you ask them to do that. It's like you impose that on them. You impose that on them. And if you impose something on them without explaining, it's gonna create two things. It's gonna create one type of people where they're going to become completely unruly. They're going to completely reject the rules. And another group of people that are going to become complying people without even thinking. But if you the two groups have one thing in common, it's that they don't understand the context of why you ask them to do that. So one group is complying, but they don't understand why really you ask them to do that, and the other group is rejecting the rule, but they don't understand why the rules are no good and why they should reject them. So that's a problem when you impose something on a kid without explaining. You're gonna say, of course, you need to impose some stuff on the kids because they are not independent. Yes, but it should be done on an individual basis and always explaining individually to the kid, even if they don't understand, because it's gonna integrate and later they're gonna be able to process it. And the second element is that if the kid doesn't comply, like, the professor is gonna be angry. You're gonna have all of the emotional bullshit of the guy or the girl coming up and being directed straight to the kid, like, now you go to the corner, or you're just a naughty little boy or girl, what are you doing? Like, it's gonna be all this emotional bullshit. And at this age, kids are basically sponges. So what you're going to obtain is a very unstable kid. Like, not if you do that one time, but it's happening over and over and over and again and over, and you have all the kids that are actually complying. They are gonna see other kids being maltreated, like by the professor, being punished, and the adult being very emotional about it. And even if they're not punished themselves because they comply, they're going to integrate that. Like, oh, I'm afraid I shouldn't do that because otherwise I'm gonna be punished. The problem is they don't understand why what that kid was doing was actually bad. They don't understand that. They don't have the context. So you cannot just punish them, because what's going to happen if you do that is, yes, they won't do it anymore, but they won't understand why. So they won't do it because they fear you, not because they understand why it's no good to do it. So you're really creating a dumb kid. It's gonna be dumb because he doesn't understand why. So he doesn't understand the basics of the rules of society. He doesn't understand because it's like you just punished it and just acting out of fear. So the second element is you're creating a dumb kid, and second, you're creating a very unstable kid emotionally because you're actually abusing him. It's maltreatance, and he doesn't understand, he doesn't have the context. So the solution will be to, if he's doing something which is really problematic, like he's gonna put himself in danger or put another kid in danger, then you have obviously to stop the situation, obviously, but without being emotional about it and without crying after the kid. Because if you do that, if you act emotional about the kid, it's gonna integrate all of this. And it's not best as an adult to be emotional about a situation when it is not fitting what you want. Like if you go into court and the judge is gonna tell something to you that you don't like, and you start to get angry, you start to swing a fist, you say, "Judge, I'm gonna kill you." What's gonna happen? It's gonna be contempt of court, one, and if you say, "I'm gonna kill you," it's gonna be even worse. But contempt of court for sure. So as an adult, you cannot act like this, but you are actually teaching to the kid to act like this, to react emotionally to situation. Because when he is doing something that you, as an adult, don't consider as something he should be doing, you are reacting all emotional about it. And in school, it's that all the time, and it's really difficult. I'm not blaming the teachers, because when you are one person for 20 or 30 kids, it's literally impossible. That's why school, by definition, in this type of setting, it's just bullshit. It cannot work, because you're gonna have these types of situation happening where the kid is imposed with emotional bullshit of the teacher. So the solution should be to reduce the groups, or to do homeschooling or education at home. But in this context of school, that's one situation where you sabotage the kid. Like when the adult is reacting and to the kids and imposing his own emotional bullshit to the kids. The other situation is kids between themselves, because they tend to be, during the breaks, during the recreation, they tend to be in groups and kind of let by themselves. Some of the kids are gonna get bullied, and it's really gonna create dysfunctional stuff for all of the kids. For the kids that are gonna get bullied, of course, because it's traumatic experience. For the kids that are bullying, because themselves, it's not a functional, at least it's not supposed to be a functional behavior as an adult or even as a kid, but they are learning to do that in school. And even for the kids watching, because they are learning how to be coward and letting other kids being bullied in front of themselves without doing anything. So it's really bullshit from A to Z, from the alpha to the omega, because it's not achieving what it's supposed to achieve. It's not creating stable kids. It's not raising every kid to its utmost potential. It's not learning kids how to really read effectively. It's not teaching them how to understand and process books, reading information, and even process reality around them. It's giving kids false perception of what they're going to be confronted as an adult. So there's a lot of reasons why school is really bullshit. And now when you see that in some countries, like France, my country, the president is strongly going against homeschooling and is using other kind of arguments against it. But the result is that you want to completely ban homeschooling, so you couldn't actually educate your kid at home. And when you see the state, what it is actually to have a kid in a public school or even private schools, it's really mind-boggling. So that's it. I think I'm gonna just look if I have anything else I wanted to say about this. Yeah. So school is just merely selecting the kids. It's not actually building everybody up. It's just selecting the kids that already had a good potential, but the good potential is coming from their initial environment and from the parents, like mainly from the vocabulary of the parents and their degree of emotional stability or not. Yeah, school is sabotaging kids, like we explained that, I think, in depth. So that's it. So have a great day. I will continue to do other videos and explain a lot of interesting stuff about how things are actually doing right now in our system for kids and for a lot of things. Because I'm gonna give you a hint about why is it important to talk about these subjects and to start doing something about them. It's because if you want to solve things in our society, the only viable solution on the long run, on the long term, it is not to do a revolution, not to kill every leader, not to use basically any of the other solutions that are proposed, but it is to educate and to give every kid the opportunity to be raised to its utmost potential. Like, at first, to have a great reading ability, to be able to read to a very high level, because it's really the most fundamental things, to be able to read to a very high level, like being not able to just not decipher, but being able to recognize instantly every word and to have all of their meanings integrated, so that when you read, your brain is just processing the information. You don't have to think, because every word is recognized automatically and you have the meanings. Your brain is automatically doing the word to understand the right meaning, and then you're able to process the information. So that's how things should be done for teaching kids. That is the result that you should expect when you are teaching kids how to read, and there are very good ways to do that, but unfortunately it's not done right now in the system. So yeah, have a great day and see you very soon.